Okay, welcome back to the YouTube channel of Pro Enzo Vidz, and this is the Ankle Breaker Podcast, episode 58. So tonight marks episode 58, so we're not too far from episode 60. So yeah, it's good to see that the podcasts as of recent have been, I guess, getting closer to some milestones as we speak. But yeah, tonight I'm joined by special guest Warriors NRL Fanatics, and of course regular co-host All Out Section. But Fanatics, good to have you back on the channel, bro. Obviously, you were on the channel and for the podcast not too long ago. How you been? And congrats on the Warriors and the win on Friday.
Yeah, I've been good. It's great to be back on your channel, probably for the second time this year, because I've been on your channel only a couple of weeks ago now. So yeah, I've been good, and it's great. The season's been great so far, and the NRL has been some competitive and close matches, and yeah, my team, the Warriors, the Warriors, are doing pretty well at the moment, despite had a couple of losses only a couple of weeks ago, but had a good win over the Dogs on the weekend, which was an important win for my team, because they have the bye this week. So yeah, I'm good, and it's great to be on your channel tonight, and I'm looking forward to the podcast.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And yeah, I think that was a big win by the Warriors on Friday because, like you said, the bye the next week, so it's a big advantage getting another extra couple of points in there. So no, that's good. That's good to hear. Fanatics and All That Section or Champa. How you going, bro? And so close. I will say, for the Tigers. I'm very close this Saturday. But other than that, how you been?
Yeah, look, I've been all right. Unfortunately, the Tigers didn't get up against South Star. I do think we put in a very good performance. It's just two sneaky Latrell Mitchell tries at the end really, was the end for us. But I'm doing well. Indigenous round, I made sure to pull out the Indigenous Tigers jersey I have. Look at this beauty. I'll tell you what, this is a wonderful jersey that I will be wearing this weekend to Tigers Cowboys at Leichhardt Oval, the final game at Leichhardt. I'll be wearing this.
Oh yeah, sounds good, bro. And that's a great jersey. Isn't that like last year's Indigenous jersey? That one.
It is. It's the 2022 Indigenous jersey. It is a beauty, and then yeah, I love it.
No, it's very nice. I agree. It's very nice. And yeah, Tigers' last game at Leichhardt, it's really sad, isn't it? Like, it's already come so quickly, that time where it has come there. So hopefully they play well there, and essentially we're going to be there. So yeah, no, it's going to be interesting to see how that all goes. But look, obviously it's not too far from Origin. So look, 2 weeks away, as you can see in the title. So obviously the build up towards Origin, and especially this week being Indigenous round, it's very special. So it's a good time of the year when this sort of stuff does come up. But look, before I do get into everything else and so on, just want to see who's in the live chat. So as we speak, 6 people watching the live right now. So that's a start. In the live chat, though, I've got Jason Reader saying, "Evening, how are you?" Jason Reader, evening to you too. And CJ says, "Can't wait for this great Indigenous round." Yeah, no, bro, it's gonna be good, and I'm looking forward to how every club approaches Indigenous round with whatever, like jerseys or just, I guess, the culture and embracing all that during the week. It's gonna be a very important part of the game this week, so should be good. But yeah, no, look, we're getting to, I guess, the round it was and go from there. So round 11 of the season. So look, it was I will start by saying this. I think round 11 was it was an interesting round. Some good games in there, but there was some, I guess, shocking games in there as well. And yet again, there's not a round where there isn't a bad call being made. I think we're pretty well aware of that right now. There's always that one bad call that's been given every game. So and every round too. But Warriors NRL Fanatics, what was your thoughts in the round 11, bro? Obviously, there was a few games in there that were great, but like I said before, some that weren't, I guess, the best. But after what you saw across the round, what did you make of it?
Yeah, look, I thought it was not too bad of a round. I mean, I wouldn't say it was one of the greatest rounds. There were some quality games, but there were also some games where they were pretty high scoring, and defensively, a lot of teams just weren't great defensively as well. So yeah, look, overall, obviously, besides my team getting up, I'm happy about that. But I think the Panthers game, and I think it was Broncos in Melbourne. That was pretty decent game, I thought. A few iffy decisions. I think the refereeing in that game wasn't great, to be honest. But besides that, look, I thought there were some decent games, but there's some games which weren't great either. So it was an okay round. I thought it was an all right round.
Yeah, fair enough. And yeah, actually, with some of those calls on Thursday, that was pretty disgraceful in my opinion. Like the Patrick Carrigan so-called hip drop, that was nowhere near a hip drop. That was a ridiculous call, and I couldn't believe I actually deemed that as a penalty in the first place. And I don't think Carrigan's missing any weeks, isn't he? Like he's not missing any weeks for that. So yeah, that's just awful by the NRL to get that wrong. And Champa, what were your thoughts around 11, bro? Like, what did you make of the round?
Yeah, look, it was a round that was very up and down. You can say that, with the game between Brisbane and Melbourne, which a lot of controversy within that game, but I thought it was entertaining as hell. The Panthers really giving it to the Roosters. Wow. Further showing how good Panthers still are and how the Roosters, there's a lot of problems there. What else? Manly and Sharks, obviously a game that you're not too proud about, but I thought it was entertaining as hell, and another great performance from the Sharks. You know, they really are looking to be one of the top teams, and of course, the Tigers, unfortunately, coming up short against the South Sydney. But I think that 20-0 scoreline shouldn't really reflect what most people think, it was just a thrashing. Now, we were really in that match. It was gritty. It was scrappy. Both teams probably weren't at their best. But sometimes, with games like that, it's just a nail biter right there. And, South Sydney got up in the end. But with round 11, it was very interesting. And, look, I enjoyed most of the games that were played.
Yeah, no, well said. Well said. And I think I have to agree with that Tigers-Souths game. Like, obviously, it would have been nice if Tigers won, obviously, for you. But I think just looking at the game, how it all went, it was a tight, gritty game. And obviously, Tigers were in it like they have been in the past couple of weeks. But I guess it's hard when you've got guys like Latrell, who, is one of the best players in the game. Got, Walker and a good finisher like Milne. It's hard to contain, isn't it? But no, credit to the Tigers for sticking in there and giving, I guess, a team like South a fight. And I just want to let you know, Champa, towards the end of your speaking there, you sort of glitched out a little bit, like your camera sort of froze a couple of times. So just a heads up there. But no, it's all right. But, obviously for me and how I thought the round went, I start by the Manly and Sharks game. I was there yesterday, and it was tough, I guess, to be experiencing what happened. But I guess the second half comeback by us made the game better in a way. But I think it was pretty evident that the Sharks were running right over us the whole entire time. So yeah, it's a disappointing thing to see us get defeated like that. But it happens. And as for the other games, I guess Panthers and Roosters was a real shock on the Friday. Look, Roosters, I don't know where they're at as a club. They seem to be really struggling at the moment. And Broncos Storm was a good game, apart from some refereeing decisions, like Fanatics said. And Super Saturday was, it wasn't, I guess, terrible, but it wasn't, I guess, a 10 out of 10 Super Saturday. So, look, I agree with both of you. I think it was an okay round with a few ups and downs included. Just going to say hello to a few people in the live chat. Hello to Nathan Moore, Viking King, and hello to Nick from Australia. Good to see a couple of more subscribers coming to the stream right now. All right, on to our player of the round for round 11. So this is a tough one, actually, because I think there was a lot of players that we could say stood out throughout the round. But look, if you have to pick one, only one, who would you pick? I'll start with you, Champa. Who is your player of the round for round 11?
Oh, mate, look. I don't know what it is about me picking South Sydney players as players of the round. They're just that fucking good. And I have to go with Cam Murray on this one. What was it? 52, 53 tackles and missed none? That is God. Cam Murray is the best lock in the game. Don't throw me your Yos. Don't throw me your Carrigans. Cameron Murray is the best lock forward in the game. All right, that performance against the Tigers, where look, not every player was at the 100%, if there's one player I can say that stood out more than anyone, it was Cam Murray. I could have went with a lot of players, Payne Haas, who was just a whole heap of players I could have chosen throughout the round, but nah. Cameron Murray is not only one of the best locks in the game, he's one of the most underrated players in the game because everyone wants to talk about, when you talk about your top forwards, Payne Haas always gets thrown up, and when it comes to locks, and your Fisher Harris. We need more talk on Cam Murray. He's that fucking good. And look, I know they're gonna have Yo in lock for the Blues, but Cam Murray, he's really battling for that position. But he's my player of the round.
Yep. Yeah, no, he will be, I think. And I think the way he played against the Tigers, that's what an Origin player does, make those sort of tackles and doesn't miss too many. So I think Murray's a good call, Champa. And as for you, Fanatics, who's your player of the round for round 11?
Yeah, look, like Champa said, Cameron Murray's a good shout, but I'm going to go with someone different. I'm going to go with Isaiah Yeo from Penrith. Yeah, I thought it was very impressive against the Roosters. So, yeah, I'll go with Isaiah Yeo.
Yeah, good call.
He's got a kicking game on him, eh?
Yeah, I was going to say, his kicking game towards Brian Toto, like kicking that try, that was, yeah, I guess he keeps his kicking license for a forward. How about that? But yeah, no, fair call. As for me, well, I'm also going to give it to another forward, but not like a lock forward, though. I'm going to give it to a surprise one, and I'm going to give it to Addy from Blake from the Warriors. So I've been a little bit critical for Noah Blake. I'll be honest, because I don't know if he adds enough to, I guess, that forward pack, and I think he's overshadowed by many other forwards in that Warriors team, in my opinion. But I think the way he played... What's that?
Like, you would know, him being a former Manly player.
Yeah. I think he's improved a lot since then, but I think, just there's a lot of good Warriors forwards around him, and I think that sort of just, sort of hides what he can do, I guess, in a way. But no, he stood out on Friday. He played a really good game against the Bulldogs. Like, scoring a try that close to the line was obviously down to bad Bulldogs defense, but that pass from Walker to Fanua Blake, that was a nice combination, man. And for a big man like him to bust through a line with speed, it's frightening. And if he can do that a bit more, well, there's not going to be too many teams that can defend that, especially if he's running at speed like that. So, yeah, he had a good game for Noah Blake. So I reckon I'd give that player of the round to him, in my opinion. But, yeah, I think all the players that we selected there have had a good week. So that's all fair calls. All right. And in the live chat, Nick says, CNK player of the round for me. Yeah, that's a fair call too. He was good for Warriors. Nick Cluxton, that's a great call, I reckon. All right. On to the topics now. So on to topic time, and there's a few in there that have added that will spark a debate, I think, a little bit, but we'll see how we go, I guess. We'll see how we go. But the very first one is Tyson Brazil. Obviously, been great form for Newcastle. I see Champ's getting some funny looks there, but Tyson Brazil, like, he's been good for Newcastle, I reckon, and he's come back in a way that I think is the form he was playing a long time ago, but he's playing better now. And does that mean he comes into New South Wales Blues contention? Like, obviously, the Blues are low on back rubbers for this year, with obviously Keon Kalamatangi being out of contention now. And obviously, there's an experience you could consider with Ola Kawatu and Hudson Young. But you've got someone like Tyson Brazil, who obviously has been there and done it before. And so far, his form this year tells me that he is an Origin player, in my opinion. But, Champa, I'll start with you first. Is Tyson Brazil a genuine contender for the New South Wales Blues team? Yes or no?
No. Well, yes. The furthest you'd get for me is reserves. All right. I've been paying real close attention to the Knights. I did have them as my wooden spooners. So I've been making sure to really pay close attention to him. And look, I'm not going to knock Tyson Frizell. He has been playing great form, but does that mean he overtakes the likes of Hudson Young, of Ola Kawatu, who have been playing in career best form? Like, isn't Origin the best of the best? And Ola Kawatu is, I think I personally would have Ola Kawatu in that starting position, second row, linking up with Cam Murray. That's honestly I would do. And if there's any room we could have Tyson Rizal, he can be that fringe player that comes off the bench. But look, I look. He has a lot of Origin experience, and he's been in Origin winning teams. And look, he's a player that's been around and that has a lot of experience with with um big match big match feels. He's played in so many Origins compared to Hudson Young and Olakau'atu, who've never played an Origin. So he knows what those big game types feel like, but. That doesn't overshadow Olakau'atu and Hudson Young, who have been in amazing form. And look, Liam Martin's also in contention as well. But look, the most I have for him is reserves. Best 18th man, I would say.
Yep. Yeah. Look, I think he'll be considered. I think there's no doubt about that. But whether he starts, whether he comes off the bench, or like you said in reserve, I don't know. But he, I think he's done okay to be considered a call up. But we'll see what happens anyway. So we'll see what Freddie thinks, I reckon. And Fanatics, what's your thoughts on this one? Do you think Frizzell is a genuine threat for Origin, or do you think it's not his time yet?
Look, he's an experienced player. He's been around the game for a very long time. He's represented Australia, and he's played for New South Wales before as well. So, look, I mean, if you bring him in here, I wouldn't complain to bring him in. But right now, if you're basing it off this form this year, I think he's been good. But I don't think he's been like outstanding. I don't think he's been setting the world on fire to be selected. But that's just my opinion. But look, if New South Wales selected him, it wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't be terrible. And in my opinion, I think he'd be all right to have, like, probably on the bench somewhere. But that's just what I think personally. I just think, I wouldn't say he's setting the world on fire. Like, he's outstanding. He's playing all right. It's not being terrible, but that's probably what I think of regards to Tyson Frizzell and being in the New South Wales Blues side.
Yeah, all right. Interesting. Look, I think you both make good points about Frizzell and how he, I guess, hasn't set the world on fire, and I agree with that. I don't think he has either. But I think the way he has sort of just played this year for Newcastle, and especially with Knights, as a club in general, they're very up and down sides. So I think the way he's actually playing that side, he's really stood out, and he has proved that he gives 100% effort, and he is a wholehearted, player that gives it a go, and that's true. He does, and honestly, for me, I would start Tyson Frizzell on the back row for Origin. I'm just putting it out there. I would start Tyson Frizzell on the back row. Obviously, you can put Olakau'atu there, put Young there. You can even put a couple of other players now as well. Like, I guess there's a few other options out there that could be better than Frizzell. But I think just he's a player, like I said, he's been there, done it before. He knows what he's doing when it comes to this time of the year. And I think if you start Olakau'atu and Young, I would not complain one bit, because I think they are awesome players and they deserve their opportunity to start one day for the Blues, in my opinion. But I think if that's the case, you're better off giving them a bit of time to, I guess, gel in or sort of fit into the whole Origin aspect, if you get what I mean. So, like, having Olakau'atu or Young off the bench would be good, and you start Frizzell, I guess, for experience-wise. So that's how I do it. But I think either way, what Freddie does will be something to see and interesting to see what he does. So that's what I think there. On to a very big topic now, and topic number 2. And this is, well, I don't think it's going to end too well, especially with what the NRL's done here. But is it disrespectful by the NRL to let the Warriors have the bye over playing an Indigenous round? Because obviously there's a lot of controversy about this now. And I'll say this very quickly. When the whole draw came out, no one took notice of this. Like, no one took notice of it. No one really spoke about how the Warriors are having the bye during Indigenous round. And now, because it has come to Indigenous round, everyone knows that the Warriors have the bye. So, there's a lot of Indigenous Maoris out there. So I don't know why the NRL have done this, but I don't know. I really don't know. Champa, I can tell you really want to get something off your chest right now. You go ahead and you give your thoughts on this one, bro.
Oh, I'm ready to explode. Okay. You mean to tell me that the NRL, keep in mind, Indigenous round isn't planned a week before the round, it's planned months before the draws even came out. So you mean to tell me that the NRL looked at the draw and think, oh, all right, we got to choose one bye. We got to choose one team for the bye. How about one of the most cultural and most influential teams in the NRL, the Warriors? Yeah, they can miss Indigenous round. It's almost as big as if South Sydney were to miss Indigenous round. Yeah, I said it. I said it because, all right, I understand that Indigenous round mainly focuses on the First Nations people of Australia. Okay, and look, what I'm saying right now to any First Nations people watching, what I'm saying right now isn't a knock to the Indigenous round or anything like that. So let's just clear that out of the way. What I'm saying here, if you're including an entire country like the New Zealand Warriors, and you're celebrating an Indigenous round, which keep in mind, Indigenous means a country's First Nations people, and you have a country playing in your competition, I feel like, you should be commemorating that country's First Nations people. Like, it almost sounds absurd. And some people say, oh, you're overreacting because, this isn't focused on Maori people. It's focused on the Indigenous Aboriginals of Australia. I understand that. But that doesn't mean you should exclude the Warriors from an Indigenous round, because Indigenous means First Nations people, and Maoris are the First Nations people of New Zealand. Like, what? It was the multicultural round, New Zealand's the Warriors round to celebrate. Like, come on, that doesn't seem right. I feel it, and this is why the one team that has a bye every week is ruining the NRL, because already, what was it? Newcastle had the miss Magic round, and now look, the Warriors get the miss Indigenous round. It's ridiculous. It's disgusting, and look, maybe I'm overreacting, but I'm a proud Māori person, and I'm definitely sure there's more people out there that feel the same way. So honestly, the NRL, they've got bugs in their brains or something. They've got their head so far up their ass, and it's typical from them. Very typical. Fucking idiots.
Champ, I'll ask you something. Do you think the reason why Warriors got the bye during Indigenous round was because of politics, do you reckon? Like, there was a bit of a push for it to happen because they don't believe that, I don't know, it may sound a bit too much, but the Warriors don't have much of an input into the Indigenous in general, or do you think there was just the luck of the draw sort of thing?
Oh, honestly, I feel like, honestly, in my personal opinion, since New Zealand isn't a part of Australia, they thought, well, they shouldn't be included in the Indigenous round. Even though there's Indigenous players that play for the Warriors, like, come on, it's ridiculous.
It is. No, look, I appreciate your thoughts on that one because, obviously, before we came onto the live tonight, I could see you're very passionate about, and I guess upset, which you have a right to be, about the whole thing and how, I guess, they've sort of disregarded the New Zealand culture with the whole Indigenous sort of ideas. So it's a touchy subject, of course, but I think there's a right to be angry about it. So no, I have to say you explained yourself really well there, Champa. And Fanatics, obviously as a Warriors fan yourself, and obviously I guess yourself being having a bit of Kiwi in you. What's your thoughts on this one? Because this is a very interesting subject, but do you think it's a case of the NRL just, randomly throwing a team in there for a bye, or do you think there's something a bit wrong about leaving the Warriors out of the Indigenous round?
Well, look, to be completely honest, obviously the scheduling's not right, for the Warriors this year, and I will say this, that the Warriors have been away from New Zealand for quite some time during that COVID period, and they were in Australia for a long time, and the NRL hasn't been really kind to us in terms of the schedule this year anyway. So even with this bye, it does in a way seem disrespectful for the Warriors to not be playing during the Indigenous round. But also as well, I can see it from the other side is that the Warriors have also had a short turnaround in a lot of games over the last couple of weeks. So we had to play Magic round, obviously in Brisbane. We played in Melbourne against the Storm on Anzac Day. And, we didn't get a bye after that. Melbourne got a bye after that. So it just shows how, the schedules, for me, the way they schedule is for the NRL in terms of the Warriors this year, it's just not been kind to us. So, that's all I've got to say about that in regards to that. And, the Indigenous round is an important round, for a lot of the, Māori, Indigenous players, So for me, look, obviously I'm sort of happy in a way that the Warriors get to buy this week because obviously, we've had the short turnaround over the past couple of weeks, so that's probably why I've set from that side. But in a way, that side as well is sort of disrespectful that the Warriors, don't get to play an Indigenous round as well. So I could see two sides to it, actually, two sides to the situation.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Yeah, but I just think it's look, from what I think it's actually quite disrespectful and really rude by the NRL to leave the Warriors out of Indigenous round. I think there's a lot of controversy surrounding it, and it's fair controversy too because I can't believe that. And like Champ said before, the Warriors are such a cultural looking team, and I can't believe that they're not included in around Indigenous round, whereas like a lot of Māori Indigenous people and players I'm pretty sure guys like Dane Gagai and Reem Smith are Māori Indigenous. I'm pretty sure they are. So there's a few players out there that do have
And
yeah.
From the Warriors, you got. I'm pretty sure Josh Curran. He's
Josh Curran,
Indigenous. He's
Yep.
Indigenous. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yep.
So he won't. He won't be get to represent his culture because he plays for the Warriors and having the buy. It's ridiculous.
No, it's very sad. And I get there's Indigenous players everywhere and stuff, but come on, I think it's just a bit really weird to see that the Warriors are the ones being in by this round. I think there's no doubt, in my opinion, that there was politics behind this one. I think there was a lot of politics behind this push to make it happen. I don't think that NRL would have, unintentionally did this. I think there was definitely a purpose behind it, and I think it's unfortunate to see that the NRL have thought that the Warriors missing out on Indigenous round was the way to go. So it's sad. But, I guess this will blow up in the next couple of days, I reckon. I think as we speak now, it'll blow up in the next couple of days, I reckon.
Well, so the thing about this, if they don't bring in an 8-team anytime soon, are the Warriors just going to keep on missing out on an Indigenous round? Because honestly, I don't see the NRL dropping teams like South Sydney or the Parramatta Eels, teams that are very rich in that whole Indigenous culture. I don't see the NRL dropping teams like those for Indigenous rounds. So why is it? We'll see next year if there's no 8-team team.
Yeah, and if this does happen to the Warriors next year as well, there's going to be some sort of issue for sure. There'll be a very big issue. So yeah, very touchy subject, of course, but that's our thoughts on that one. On to topic number 3, and this is good news for a small supporter because you should be very happy about this one, but it's taken far too long, in my opinion, to get to a decision here. But Craig Bellamy has announced that he will coach the Storm for another year in 2024. Whether that is his last year officially or not remains to be seen. But Bellamy's staying at the Storm. Obviously, he's done a lot of great things at Melbourne, and he's good enough to still coach and to display how old he is. So he may as well just keep going if that's the case. But I'll start with you first, Fanatics. What do you think about Craig Bellamy staying at the Storm as coach still? Do you like it, or do you think that maybe his time was up?
Look, I think, if he feels like, he still wants to give, a bit more to the Storm. Obviously, he's had a great coaching career, what he's done with Melbourne and how he's brought up that sort of club and how professionally run they are. So, I think it's obviously, his decision and he wants to stay on and he believes he can still do it. So, it's only till next year. Obviously, it's just to 2024. So, I think it's obviously it's a good decision. It's a good decision for the Storm to obviously keep it for another year, but it's also great as a whole. I think it's great for the NRL as a whole to see him still hang around, coach in Melbourne. So I think it's good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I think he is a real character of the game. He's a real sort of character that stands out in the game of rugby league because everyone has grown up knowing who Bellamy is and how he's done at the Storm. So I think him staying in the game in general is a very nice sight to see, I think. And Chamber, obviously, your thoughts on it?
Look, unlucky if you're a Dragons fan. For those who are hoping that Bellamy might come to the Dragons. So, look, it's great to see Bellamy showing loyalty to the Storm and for them to coach in for another year. He has the credentials. We all know he's probably one of the best coaches of this era, probably the best coach of this era. But I will say this: I think the Bellamy effect is starting to wear off. because has anyone else noticed the Storm haven't been their usual selves this year? Like it just
Yeah.
hasn't like they've been good and they're still in the top 8 and they came off a great win against Brisbane, but not the dominant Storm we're used to seeing. You know, I keep going back to the Titans and the Bulldogs games where they lost in games that they probably should have won. But look, I was watching our NRL 360 really quick before the podcast. Bellamy said, look, he's in his 60s. He's coaching players that are like 23, 24, 25. It's harder to connect with those players. I think from that, from hearing that from Bellamy, it shows that the Bellamy effect is probably starting to wear off. And maybe that's why he's only re-signed for an extra year. He knows it himself. He knows that it's harder to connect to these players, like how it was, let's say, 10 years ago when it was like, 2006, 2007, where it was, much more easier. But, it's a different era now. And he knows his time's probably up. A more younger coach that's used to this modern style of rugby league is probably better and probably what the Storm need. I don't look. That doesn't him signing to another year doesn't mean the Storm aren't going to fall. They won't. They still will be a top 8 team. But I think Bellamy knows that his time's coming. So look, whatever he decides to do after 2024, whether it's he signs another year for the Storm, whether he goes to another team, whether he goes to Super League, or if he coaches an Origin team, we'll have to wait and see. But look, Bellamy at the Storm, it's great that he's shown his loyalty, and look, he is one of the best coaches of our time.
Yeah, no, definitely agree. I think that's a key thing with why Melbourne is sort of not the same club. But I think losing Kafusi, the Bromwich brothers, Brandon Smith as well, Cheese. I think that's a lot of that's taken out of like a lot of talent taken out of Melbourne and a lot of experience taken out of Melbourne as well. And I think losing Cameron Smith, they haven't been the same size since losing Smith as well.
Yeah.
So
Best
I know.
player of all time.
Yeah, definitely. And I know in 2021 they made the prelim finals without him, but they did choke that game against Penrith, if you'll remember. So, and I dare I say, if he was playing that game, he would have led Melbourne Storm to another grand final. I reckon. I would have thought anyway. But it's not about that. It's about Bellamy staying at Melbourne for another year. And you know what? I think it's a good move. It's a good move for Melbourne and for Bellamy. I think he knows that club very well. He obviously has proven ever since he started there that he's a great coach and has done a lot of great things for players and great achievements at the club, at Storm in general, with like winning comps and minor premierships and other great achievements he's achieved at Melbourne. So, it's a smart move by Melbourne to make this all happen and keep Bellamy there rather than forcing him out and trying to sign for Jason Riles or like a coach that is a lot younger and has a modern day sort of feel. But for another year, I think it's a good call, and I don't know if he will keep coaching after 2024. But will it surprise me if he does? No, it wouldn't, because he leaves his decisions to like the last minute. So
classic Bellamy.
Classic Bellamy, yeah. So we'll see what he does after that year. But you know what? It's a good move by him and the Storm. So Storm supporters, be happy about that one, because your coach. And the best one you've obviously ever had is staying for another year. All right, on to an interesting sort of topic now that I've been reading the last couple of, actually since yesterday, I'll be honest. And this is talk about Rabbitohs forward Hame Sele. And there's some rumours going around that he has been in talks with the Bulldogs and the West Tigers, but obviously more so the Bulldogs. But the Tigers are looking at him as well, I believe. And you know what? Hame Sele for the Rabbitohs this year has been really good off the bench. Like, he's proven that he is getting a lot better game by game. Probably a couple of years ago, he was more of a backup reserve grader or a fringe first grader that came in when there was injuries or suspensions, etc. But I think now he is starting to adjusting himself to first grade, and he has sort of cemented a spot off the bench for the Rabbitohs. So what I guess happens in that situation with his contract and stuff remains to be seen. But Champa, Bulldogs and the Tigers want Hame Sele, and obviously as a Tiger supporter, how do you feel about this rumour?
Yeah, look, I think it's very interesting. Look, whatever Jaime Sele decides to do, whether he wants to stay at South or leave to the Tigers or Bulldogs, is up to him. But I'd be more than happy to take on Jaime Sele and have him as probably a great player coming off the bench. I could just imagine him coming on for Ukatamanu or for Clemmer, and he's in that middle, like after the first 20 minutes of the first half, and he just makes some damaging runs, some good tackles. I feel look, like you said, sorry, like you said, he's really come out to be a first grade player this year, and look, it just goes to show how how great South are at developing their players and how much of a good team they are this year. But look, Jaime Sele, look, he'd fit well at the Tigers, and he definitely would fit well at the Bulldogs. Bulldogs are always known for that mongrel aggressive sort of play. Jaime Sele fits in right well. Imagine him and Franklin Pele coming off the bench. Jesus
Oh,
Christ,
can't believe
that is scary. So yeah, look, I'd love to have him at the Tigers. Jaime Sele, him coming off the bench, or hell, he could pick up form and he could be a starting player. Who knows? But I think it'd be I'd love to happen, and it'd be very interesting to see where he goes.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's an interesting rumor because he's definitely come out this year and has done a lot better as a player in his form. So we'll see what happens where he goes. But Fanatics, what's your quick thoughts on this one, bro?
Yeah, so obviously, I've only seen a bit of him this year. I think he's been great, coming off the bench for Souths, and I think he's quite a young player as well. And I think he's come on leaps and bounds over the past couple of weeks. So yeah, I think he's a very good young forward, and I think if you're either the Tigers or the Bulldogs or something like that, I think you'd be happy to have a player like him, like in your starting side or whether it could be coming off the bench. So yeah, I think he's a young player and has real good potential, actually, I think. And he's showing it over the past couple of weeks for Souths.
Yeah, no, for sure. And just reading the comments, actually, CJ pointed out that Sele is actually related to Paul Alamotti, which I never knew, actually. I did not know that.
Wow.
So if
Well,
that's the case,
good
then
chance for the Bulldogs now.
yeah, good chance for the Bulldogs. Yeah, I think that's what could happen. That if that's the case, they're related, then yeah, he might go there. But he, like I said, he's come out this year a lot better and has sort of shown that he is a consistent first grader. And probably before a couple of years ago, he wasn't really a first grader, more of a backup player that comes and does the job. But right now, he's finding some form, and I don't blame clubs like the Tigers or the Bulldogs for having a crack at him, even though it's more the Bulldogs that sort of want him, apparently. But I think if he does go, then that's fair enough because I think he might be making the move to be a starting player or just get a bit more game time for sure. Like who knows, but and maybe better money. But yeah, at Rabbitohs, he's killing it there. So it would be a bit of a loss to that forward pack that the Souths have. But if he goes to the Bulldogs or Tigers, wherever, he would not disappoint. I don't think so. We'll see what happens there, but it's interesting. And on to the last topic of the show, and one that I didn't want to sort of talk about this time of the year because, yeah, I think back in March, February, we would not be talking about this right now, but I think it's time to discuss what's really wrong with this club. So obviously, Manly at the moment, my boys, what's wrong with them? I don't understand this. Like we started the year so well, beat the Bulldogs around one at Brookie by like a big margin. Had the bye, then beat the Eels at home as well, and had a heartbreaking loss to Souths in round 4. So we weren't playing too bad in that opening month of footy. We were starting the year really well, and trial match form proved that as well. But it just feels like ever since that Souths game or that Knights game when we had a draw, we seem to have just really gone downhill like quickly, and it's confusing to see because I don't understand what the issue is. Like I really don't know what to say. But I'll let you just give your thoughts on it first. I'll start with you first, Champa. What's wrong with Manly in your opinion, bro? Like why have they fell down this low?
I think it's a mixture between injuries and probably just players in general. Obviously, you guys are missing Jack Dvojevic in the middle. That ad is really showing right there with defense. And look, Schuster's also a big loss as well. And look, for Cooper Johns, as much of a player he is, he's just honestly don't think he's ready for first grade in my opinion. And this is where I think the players' form just come into to play here. the players are just out of form. I can name so much players. Cooper Jones, for example, and then you got the back line, Saab and Parker, really showing some bad, form out there. And look, dare I say, Travojevic, look, he's been good, but it obviously hasn't been at his best. And I think that is still just a mixture of just players just not playing well around him. DCE, I think, is killing him right now. I think
No.
DCE is really he's a really great player. Croker, he's all right in hooker. I drop him. I would drop him, in
Me
my
too.
opinion. You guys need to get Big Gordon, like Chan Kum Tong, to come try and get him in that top 30 if he isn't in there. And I feel like he would be um, great for your side. But yeah, look, yeah, it's just a mixture. It's just players have just been playing out of form, really. I mean, there's no really big sort of investigation to go into. I think the players have just been out of form, and maybe dropping a few players and giving them a real reality check down in second grade is what they need. Like for one, you can probably drop Jason Saab, bring in Big Vega from
Mm.
the workers team, because I think
Yeah.
Saab is a talented player and he can be one of the best wingers in the comp. But right now, I think he probably needs that trip back down to reserve grade to really change his style of play. And I think you guys need to bring back Weeks, put him in jersey 14 or something,
Yeah.
because look, I'm not a big fan of Lawton, and I'm definitely not a big fan of Cooper Johns. So if you could probably, until Schuster comes back, probably try and find a way to throw Weeks in there. I think that would be great. As for your forwards, look, Kepi's killing it, but look, when Jake Travojevic comes back, I guess guys, you could really have to hold on until Big Jakey comes back. But look, injuries have been a big concern. But for me
Yeah.
personally, I think your players have just been out of form, and this is where Seabot has to come in and really get his team back into form. Because I very controversial for Seabot coming into the team with how his career ended with Brisbane, but this is where Seabot has to stand up as a coach and get his players into form.
Yeah. No doubt. No doubt. But yeah, it's just weird because it did not look like this at the start of the year. So the drop off is very strange in my opinion. But yeah, a lot of factors behind it, I'd say. And Fanatics, what's your thoughts on Manly's downfall in your opinion, bro? Is it a player issue? Is it an injury issue? Like what's the go with Manly?
Yeah, look, I have to probably agree with Champ on this one. I think it's purely on injuries. You guys have had some injuries as well, and there's some players obviously not playing to their potential at the moment. I think obviously Cherry Evans is trying his hardest, and he's the leader of that team, and he's doing his best. I think he's playing very well at the moment and doing enough to obviously keep a spot for Queensland. But other than that, you got Tommy there. He's playing like he's not fully fit. He's playing like he's still injured. It's not easy for Tommy. You can't put the blame with Tommy Travojevic, but it's sad. And obviously Jake Travojevic, another player, just a key player on the side that you're going to have out for quite a while. So that doesn't help as well. So Manly, just their players aren't playing well at the moment. There's some players out of form, and I think Jason Sabb as well. I don't know what's happened to Jason Sabb. He used to be quite a pretty good player for you guys for quite a while, but I think he's having a pretty disappointing season so far. I think you probably got Blacktown Workers. You can probably bring in someone there from Blacktown Workers to come in with Sabb, but other than that, I think it's purely just some players are out of form. You've got injuries as well, which hasn't helped. But I think Seabolt, he's got a big test on his play at the moment. What he's got to try and do is try and get his team to get together and pull through this because you don't want to be at the back end of the season. You don't want to be leaving your run too late just to push into the top 8. So yeah, I think it's just you've got to try and pull through this and get through it over the next couple of weeks and get some wins. And that's probably important for the Seagulls at the moment. Just try and build some morale and confidence back into the side.
For sure. It's a tough one. It's I don't know where to start. Like I'm like really confused still about why we've dropped off like this. Like I don't know. It's weird because the club has always spoken about how they want to perform for the fans this year, rookie, and make that a fortress, and how they feel so connected this year, and how they feel like that, that they are one united group, and that they want to play for each other and want to play for the team. But it's weird because the players are just not good enough, in my opinion. Like, I think we go well against mediocre teams, like teams that are like at mid-8 and sort of around the bottom 4. But when we play like a really class team that's like top 4, top 6, I'd say at highest, we don't perform the same way. And I think players get exposed. And if this was 2021, if I was younger, I would have called out players by now. I would have sworn it and called out players, and I would have ranted about players by now. But I'm not going to do that anymore. But there's obviously players in there that do get exposed against bigger clubs, and I will drop them for sure. So yeah, look, it's disappointing to see. I think it's not a coach issue, because I think there's not much Siebes can do with the players playing like this. Like, obviously, he's part of the reason why I'd say with getting the team ready to play for a game, or like preparation wise. But I think it's not really like down to preparation like that much, because the guys at DC are killing it every week, and I'm quite concerned for DC's back, because he must have chronic back injuries from carrying this team every single week. He must, we talk about
he's a
Tom's
superstar.
we talk about Tom's injuries. Well, look at DC's injury when he's carrying the team every week. Like, his poor back, man. Like, what's he going to do after that? Carrying the team every week, it's not fair. So, yeah, look, I think DC's, as a captain, is showing a lot of heart at the moment, a lot of effort. So that's how the team should be playing. And there's a few players that have P hearts in there, a few players that have low care, I guess, for playing. So yeah, it's weird, and I think there's changes have to be made. But honestly, what Manly do coming up this weekend, I don't know. We'll find out what the team will look like tomorrow. But the Seabold was saying there's going to be some changes in the starting lineup, so only time will tell. But I think that does wrap up episode 58 of the Anchor Breaker podcast. Yet again, another great episode tonight. I really enjoyed this one. Fanatics and Champa, thank you very much for coming on the podcast yet again. It was a pleasure. And we'll definitely do another one together soon.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me on, bro. Always great to have be a co-host. And thank you, Fanatics, for being our guest.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It was a... Yeah, it looks. I guess the topics were a bit controversial with number 2 and stuff like that. But no, it was a good show, and I do appreciate everyone coming and watching this one tonight, because it was a good show, and I do appreciate the support. So everyone, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to go ahead and like this video, subscribe to both Warriors NRL Fanatics and All Out Champs YouTube channels. Please go and check them out. Their links are in the description down below. But until then, thank you for watching. That was episode 58 right there. On to 59 next Monday. So thank you very much for watching. See you all in the next one.